How good will Washington's defense be this upcoming NFL season? We got to talk about it. I want to give a special shout out to the sponsor of this video, Manscaped. So Manscaped recently just launched their Lawnmower 4.0. And listen, if you are a guy who does a lot of shaving underneath, the Lawnmower 4.0 is the perfect tool for you because listen, my first time shaving a couple of months ago went terrible. I had a bunch of scrapes, I had a bunch of bruises, and I also had patches because I didn't finish the job. So when Manscaped sent me the Lawnmower 4.0, I used it, and I was a little bit scared, okay? Because I was like, I ain't trying to give myself patches and give myself injuries like I did last time, my first time shaving. But when I used the Lawnmower 4.0, let me tell you guys something. It was a easy process. I had no scrapes, no bruises. It was no pain. Listen, if you're a guy who does a lot of shaving underneath, make sure that you guys go ahead and cop the Lawnmower 4.0 using my promo code JT for 20% off plus free shipping off your Manscaped purchase. Once again, make sure that you guys use promo code JT for 20% off your purchase plus free shipping. Your balls will thank you. Washington had one of the best defenses in the NFL last year, and I think heading into this season, Washington probably will have the best defense in the NFL at the end of the 2021 NFL season. This defense is absolutely loaded. This is the best defensive line in all of football. And this is coming from a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of pushback from Steelers fans and 49ers fans out there, but this defensive line not only has a lot of talent, but there also is a lot of depth. Okay, you look at Chase Young, who had 7.5 sacks last year. He was Defensive Rookie of the Year last season. I expect him to not only have double-digit sacks, but I also expect him to be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year because Chase Young won like 3 or 4 games last season for the Washington football team. So when you look at the impact that he had his rookie season and you compare that to the impact that he's going to have this year going into his second year in the NFL, I think the sky is the limit. I think he'll probably have around 12 to 13 sacks, and he'll probably be a finalist for the Defensive Player of the Year award come February. Then you look at Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat had 9 sacks last season. Then you got the Alabama Twin Towers down there at D tackle and Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen. You also got Matt Ioannidis, who only played in 3 games because he got injured earlier during the season. So with him coming back, you have a lot of depth, you have a lot of talent. This is the best defensive line in the NFL, and I'm not about to go back and forth with any of you guys in the comment section. Don't at me on Twitter about it because I'm not about to argue with you on it. This is the best defensive line in football. Name me another team that only has a lot of talent but also has guys that are backups that probably could be starters on a handful of teams on this defensive line. Not a lot of teams have this kind of depth that Washington has when it comes to the defensive line position. Then you improve the linebacker position, which kind of was the weak spot of this defense. It wasn't bad, but it kind of was a noticeable weakness because the linebackers last year, they weren't all that great in coverage. They were kind of slow. So how do you improve that? Well, you select Kentucky linebacker Jamin Davis in the first round, which Jamin Davis was my favorite linebacker in this past year's draft class. I felt like Jamin Davis was better than Michael Parsons, better than Xavier Collins, better than J.O.K., who plays for the Cleveland Browns. Like, Xavier Collins is a great linebacker. So is Michael Parsons and J.O.K., but Jamin Davis can do everything. He has great speed. He can run sideline to sideline. He's a good rangy tackler. He also has great coverage skills. Like, this guy can cover tight ends in the middle of the field. Like, he can do everything that you want him to do for a linebacker. Not only is he a good tackler, but he also doesn't miss a lot of tackles neither. So I like Jamin Davis a lot. Great range, great athleticism, great tackler, very good in coverage, sideline to sideline speed. Like, you're getting a guy who probably will be in the running for Defensive Rookie of the Year this upcoming season. Then you got John Bostic, Cole Holmcomb. So the linebacker unit is pretty pretty good, better than what it was last season. Then at cornerback, I'm really excited for corner. You got William Jackson, who played for the Bengals last season. He had an interception, 11 pass deflections. He was their best cornerback on their roster last year. Then you have Kendall Fuller. You got Jimmy Moreland. Then you have safety Landon Collins coming back. Now, Landon Collins played 7 games last year before he ended up getting his season cut short. And Landon Collins is one of my favorite safeties in the NFL. When he's healthy, he's amongst one of the top 3 or top 5 safeties in the game. So him coming back is definitely going to boost up that defense and help that secondary out, which the secondary was pretty solid last year. Now, when you look at Washington's defense, I told everybody that Washington's defense was going to carry this team. And when Ron Rivera first took over the job in Washington, there were a lot of people out there who were like, oh, why would he take the job in Washington? They don't have a lot of talent. You got one of the worst owners in the NFL. And I told people, I said, Ron Rivera took the Washington job because this team is built for him to have success right away because they have a really good defensive line. If you remember Ron Rivera for his tenure during Carolina, when Carolina was a playoff team and when they were at their best, they had some of the best defensive lines in the NFL during that stretch. So when you look at Ron Rivera, he went to a team that was already good in the trenches on the defensive side of football. So for Ron Rivera, he won games the way he likes to win games. Like, Ron Rivera doesn't need the offense to score 30 points a game. All he really needs to do is for the offense to be efficient, be effective, and not turn the football over and allow his defense to win the games. And Washington's defense pretty much was their best offense. How does the saying go? The best offense is a great defense or something like that. So for Washington, there were times last year where this defense was so dominant that this defense was pretty much winning games. This defense was putting up more points on the board sometimes than the offense. So for how dominant this defense was last year in 2020, you can only expect for this defense to even be better this season. So I expect Washington to have the best defense in the NFL. I don't really see no holes in this defense. I don't see no flaws. They're stacked at D-end, D-tackle, linebacker. You probably could make an argument and say that John Bostic isn't all that great. And I can understand that because there were games last year where John Bostic just seemed too slow in coverage and he just wasn't all that great in coverage. But I do think John Bostic is pretty solid overall. Even though he doesn't have the best coverage abilities, I still think he's pretty solid. So this should be the best defense in the NFL this season. Now, this was a defense that was 4th in the NFL in sacks per game. I expect that to go up as we continue to see the development of the young pass rushers on this roster, such as Montez Sweat and Chase Young. You also got to look at the fact that this was a defense that wasn't as good against the run as they were against the pass. This was the 3rd best pass defense in the league last year. Against the run, they were, 15th in the NFL in that department? So this run game should improve since this linebacker position improved, especially with Jamin Davis there, with how fast he is and how he's able to close in on runs pretty fast, and also the range that he has as a tackler. So for Washington's defense, this should be a top 10 defense in every statistical category. They should be top 10 against the run. This should be the 2nd to 3rd best pass defense in the NFL. They should still be one of the best pass rushing teams in the NFL. This is one of the best defenses, if not the most talented defense in the NFL heading into the season. There's not really a lot of teams that stack up as well as Washington's defense when it comes to talent. Like, there may be a couple of teams out there that you maybe can say, okay, they don't really have a lot of holes defensively. Like, maybe you can say Cleveland, but they still have some concerns at linebacker, even with the addition of JOK. I don't think Cleveland's defensive line is as good as Washington's defensive line. Pittsburgh is really good at D-line, but you lost Steven Nelson, so your cornerback position, there's depth there, but you don't really know who's going to end up stepping up there. You also got San Francisco. San Francisco's pretty good as well, but even then, they have some concerns, and they lost their defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh, who is now the head coach of the New York Jets. So I think there is pretty much of a logical reasoning to expect for Washington to have the best defense. And if this defense is as good as what I expect it to be, Washington could be a dark horse Super Bowl contender. I don't like to, throw out these dark horse Super Bowl predictions like at this time of the offseason. I normally wait till like July, but I definitely think this defense plays up to the level of expectations that I have and that Washington football team fans have. You have a Super Bowl caliber defense. You have a defense that is more than capable of being able to take you to the Super Bowl. Now, with the offense improving, that's also going to take a load off the defense, because how many times did you see this defense force a turnover or force a 3 and out just for them to come back on the field a minute later because the offense didn't do anything with it? So with the offense being a little bit better, that should take off the amount of times and the amount of snaps that this defense should have to be on the field, which is going to allow this defense to regain their stamina, allow them to regain their win, and give them a little bit more time on the sideline to end up resting up instead of having to come back on the field every 30 seconds because the offense constantly going 3 and out. So let me know how good you guys feel Washington's defense will be this upcoming NFL season. Make sure that you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content, and thanks for watching.